Hello.
Do we call you Jonathan or John? Which do you like?
Jay. I don't really care.
Okay.
Most people in beer world know me as Jonathan.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
All right. Well, everybody's good. Nigel, as always, you are hot.
Well, turn me down.
I am.
Beers with Nigel is poured for you by Dire Oil Graphics, promotional products and design. They cover your brand bumper to bumper with graphic design, promo products, and print. See what Dire Oil Graphics can build for you at direoil.com. That's DYEROIL.com.
Anyway, should we do this?
Always.
Let's do it. Welcome to Beers with Nigel, a show about what?
Other
Beer,
stuff?
Beer and other stuff, other things. Today,
Someday we'll get our branding right.
Nick is back in Kansas again for the third time this year.
Nick is back.
In Kansas. Is that a...
that was a good move for an audio medium.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible. We're at Sandhills Brewing, and our guest today is...
Jonathan Williamson.
You see how he just jumped in there and did it? I was like... That's pretty impressive.
He's one of us. He's an old, he's a content producer.
I used to make a lot of content.
No shit.
I did.
So he knows what he's doing.
Run on.
And then I got sane. I started making beer.
So what's your title? Head brewer?
No, at this point, I actually hired a full-time brewer, and so now I just run the business. I get to do all the boring work. It's lots of reports to the state and to the federal government, and paying lots of taxes, and paying lots of bills.
Yeah,
that was weird how he said that with a smile.
Exciting.
He said it with a smile.
It was very Joker-esque, right?
So do you miss the brewing part?
Yes, I do. Mostly. In that I love to brew. I am really thankful to have a full-time brewer, though, because the beer just keeps getting made no matter how ridiculous my schedule is. But I still love to brew, and so sometimes I just tell Rob Mann is my head brewer, and sometimes I just tell him, like, hey, Rob, today I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to brew.
Well, that's nice. You still have the option to brew. That's nice.
Yeah. So sometimes I'll jump in.
In this role, how long have you had the brewer?
Actually, I mean, we started in kind of a transition period, but we opened the brewery in April of 2019. And Rob joined in May or June of 2019, like very, very soon after we opened, because he was kind of involved early on, just coming by to help. He would, stop by, help build whatever, test the system, clean the system, etc. And he kind of made a job for himself. And then I gave him the full-time position, I think sometime around June-ish. And it's just been a transition ever since then. And I would say for the last year and a half, he has been the exclusive head brewer.
Well, you guys are killing it.
Thank you.
Some good beers.
Thank you.
I'm guessing he was a home brewer?
Yeah, he was a home brewer, just like me, just like my brother, just like Joe Cheezick is our other partner. And, we had all brewed. Rob's actually been brewing longer than all of the rest of us partners combined.
Wow.
I think he's been brewing, I'm going to mess this up, but I want to say since 86. Like, he's been brewing longer than I've been alive practically.
If you say it on the microphone, that makes it a fact, by the way. Yeah, so you're not wrong.
This is now set in stone.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Before we go too far, we got to shout out Junior. We got to tell him what we're drinking.
Junior.
What do we? Well, Jonathan, you poured my beer.
Well,
tell us what
let's
I've
see.
got.
So Nick is drinking our newest beer. So this is our Honey IPA. It is a juicy and hazy IPA made with Mesner Bee Farm honey, specifically their locust honey. And then dry hopped with Lotus. Just came out today, cans and draft. Nigel, you're drinking our Oktoberfest, which is a Marsden-style lager.
Delicious.
Comes out every single year. We do a more like a classic actual Marsden. It's amber in color. Ideally, we would brew it in. Would it be May, March? One of the two.
Yeah.
Way before it gets released. We didn't. We cheated. We brewed it, I think, 2 months ago. And then I'm drinking Bald Eagle, which is our hoppy bastardized American Pilsner.
Bastardized.
Yeah, it's very American.
I think that's going to be my next one.
Yeah, that one?
Yeah,
just
because it's bastardized.
And just because it's American Eagle, is that why?
Yes. Yeah. Merca.
So you obviously have some brew chops.
Thank you.
You've been doing some beers for a while. You've had the brewery how many years now?
We're at, I guess, like 2.5 years. Although technically we have 2 breweries, and that one. So we opened the Hutch location in April of 2018, the Mission location in April of 2019.
So what was the thoughts behind? Because that's really not a thing in this part of the country where you have 2 locations. What was the thoughts doing that at first?
We weren't thinking. That was the problem.
The best of decisions are made this way.
It really what it came down to is that, so I have an identical twin brother. We both started brewing about the same time. We like to do as much as we can together. He lives in Hutchinson. I live in Kansas City. And neither of us were prepared to move. We both wanted to start a brewery. We wanted to do it together. So fuck it. Why not do 2? And quite literally, I mean, that was the extent of the thought process that went into it.
I like that. I've got a business idea. Hey, let's do it twice.
Yeah.
Not recommended.
Let's double down. Why not?
Yeah.
So how's it going in Hutch?
It's good. I think the most fascinating thing with it has been seeing the differences in the markets. Like, they're both doing pretty much equally well, but they're doing equally well in very different ways.
Really?
Mission is dramatically more draft and cans to go focused. Hutch is more distribution and event focused.
Really?
Some of that is dictated by our space. In Hutch we have a larger warehouse space. We've got 5,000 to 6,000 square feet. We've got a large private lot that we can then, host outdoor events, indoor events, you name it. So we can do a lot more that we can't do here.
Right.
Here, we have the foot traffic and the street traffic that we simply don't have in Hutch. We also have the metropolitan area, of whatever the Kansas City Metro is, 1.2 million or whatever it is, and Hutch is 42,000.
Right.
So they're very different markets, but they do very different things. But all things considered, they're doing roughly equally well, which is kind of nice.
That's cool.
What is the craft beer scene in Hutch like? I seriously I admit this.
You like how we're calling it Hutch, like we're natives. I
haven't been there since early '90s, covering state championship events for Kansas. So. I'm assuming it might have grown, but who knows? I know the field house at the junior college and the Space Museum. That's it. There, I'm done.
The Cosmosphere is badass.
It is.
Always has been.
Little hidden gem.
Yes. Well, it's actually a pretty big hidden gem at this point.
That's news to me. I
By
need
the
to
way,
go to Hutch, apparently.
It's awesome.
It is
truly
really
awesome.
Cool.
No, the craft beer scene in Hutch it's starting to come about, but we are one of 2 breweries, and it's, I would say that probably half of our audience base, we are their introduction to craft beer, which in some ways is a really cool thing because we get to have that experience of introducing people to something that they've never had, introducing nuance and complexity and whatnot. But at the same time, it's also, what's the lightest beer you got on tap?
Right.
What's your Bud Light?
Right.
That's just a constant thing.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. That's the nature of
That's
the market.
all they know.
Right. That's what people know in the area. And so that can be particularly challenging. To be sure, we get that here too.
Well, yeah.
I think every brewery does to a certain extent, but it's more pronounced on the Hutch side.
I would think there it's more. I know my Busch Gold Tops and I know my Busch Light.
Yes. Yeah. There's that.
So let's back up a little bit. You and your brother have been brewing for a while. What got you guys into? Let's go with this one first. What was the first beer you remember that you thought, oh, this is different than the crap I've been drinking before? Do you remember?
The first one that I drank.
Yeah, that you kind of remember that stands out. It doesn't have to be the first.
It was New Belgium's 1554. Their dark lager.
Good beer.
There we go.
It was.
What were you drinking before that?
Boulevard Wheat.
So you never drank any crappy beer?
No. Red.
I thought you said you went to college.
I did, and I was totally the not entirely sheltered, but I didn't drink in college hardly at all. I remember having a couple of Red Stripes and being like, "What the crap is this? Why do people drink beer? This is gross." No, so I mean, my transition from falling in love with beer to finding craft beer was 6 months.
Really?
Yeah, I think I started enjoying beer with Boulevard Wheat in probably 2010, give or take. And actually, it was whenever I moved to Chicago from Kansas City, and I was homesick, and I just wanted something from the Kansas City area or Kansas area, and so I was looking for Boulevard Wheat because that was the only thing I really knew.
Right.
And then from there, I moved to California. And my brother actually sent me as kind of a get out of Kansas, welcome to California gift,
Right.
was a case of Boulevard wheat.
Oh, nice.
And that was the point. Like, it tastes like home. And from there,
That could be
downward spiral.
Their new tagline: Boulevard wheat. It tastes like home.
Exactly.
I like that it's a little bit of a love story. He fell hard, he fell fast.
I did. Yep.
So let's fast forward from there. Okay, you've been homebrewing. I remember you from the homebrew circuit. You were doing some good stuff. At what point does your brain say, "Hey, let's go from homebrewer to professional"? And I know a lot of our friends have gone that route. So it's kind of it seems to be the path apparently.
Let's just say it was stupidly early. And I actually remember the exact conversation. I remember the exact night.
That's awesome.
And it wasn't for me though. It was in the context of a friend. So a friend and I, I had homebrewed a couple of times, and then that was that. Like I kind of dropped it, forgot about it. I moved halfway across the country. Like I moved back from California to Kansas, and I went over to a friend's house, and he was brewing with a friend, and it seemed like they knew what they were doing. I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. And they're like, well, what if we open a brewery one day? I'm like, okay, well, what's it take to open a brewery? And this was me, like I was totally blind ignorance, And I remember thinking, like, well, guys, like, look, if you only need $15,000, like, you can probably raise that. Like, this is me thinking on behalf of them opening a brewery,
Right.
Lo and behold, that was the start of me actually wanting to open a brewery. I started homebrewing with them, and then I kept homebrewing. I stole their gear, and it just kept going.
Look,
and
good friends borrow, great friends steal.
Yes. By the way, it does not take $15,000 to open a brewery. It takes a hell of a lot more than that.
I'm like, that's a tiny
I was
brewery.
waiting for that part of the story, which, oh, by the way.
Mm-hmm. If only it took $15,000.
Right.
How about a mystery beer, Nick?
Are we time?
I mean, we might as well.
Let's
do
open
it.
the bag.
I mean, let's do it.
So, dude, tell me, what are these mystery beers? Where do they come from? What do we know other than they are a mystery?
So I tell you what, today,
I think we need to change the rule up a little bit.
what's the rule?
Should we let him open this time?
I mean, he can.
Yeah.
Ooh. The bag. Let's talk about the bag.
Okay.
So the bag came from a golf course, obviously.
Obviously.
We said it was procured.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Through maybe
Tony.
not official
We don't
channels.
know. We're not sure what golf course. We're pretty sure he didn't pay for the bag. So there's that. But you're welcome to help me out there. Pop that
Yep.
open. We keep it classy. Just grab what's in there.
All right.
It's a-
Can I
it's
look
a-
at
it's
it?
Yeah. It's a brown paper bag.
Okay.
Is it Amazon packaging this time?
Say what?
Is it Amazon packaging this
Yeah,
time?
that probably is. So let's
we
guess the ABV first. So tell us what kind of style it is.
Okay. It is a pre-Prohibition lager.
Yep, that is from out of
Jailbreak Brewing Company.
yes in Laurel, Maryland.
Is it?
Yes.
I don't
Laurel
know.
or something.
I'll trust you on
I
that
was
one.
there.
Okay. Perfect.
I think I know what the ABV is because I've had it before. But
All right, Nick, what is it?
I'm so bad at this game.
Prohibition lager. Or lager, that's what it says.
It's very lumberjack.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a guess.
You gotta have a guess. You know what I mean?
It can't be that high. It's a pre-Prohibition lager.
It's a lager.
I'm going to go 5.5.
All right.
What we got?
5.8. You're pretty darn close.
There you go.
All right. How many samples am I pouring?
5.
Should we shout out our guests?
Oh yeah, we've got some special guests here. Tammy and Aaron Lorenzen, in from we got Leawood, all the way from Leawood. Come to see the podcast live.
That's a road trip.
So I invited them. They're gracious enough to come, so they participate in the mystery beers.
Excellent.
That's the thing. If you show up, you might get beer.
You might get beer, yes.
Someday we'll do a better job of telling people when we're going to go out into the wild.
Let's try it out.
All right.
All right.
It was one of those things that I was at the brewery, and I was like, I'm going to get a T-shirt and I'm buying some beers to go. Didn't really care.
Yeah.
Fun fact about breweries in Maryland, they cannot be in retail areas. They have to be in industrials.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah,
for
all
them.
of them.
Can they have tap rooms with their
Yeah,
breweries?
they can.
So
but
they
it-
can act like a retail store. They just can't be zoned retail.
Yeah, they can't be close to restaurants or grocery stores.
Oh, good Lord.
It's ridiculous. But it makes for cool concepts of breweries.
Sure.
You jam it next to the places selling the drywall.
Well, it's
or-
probably good for their square footage cost.
Yeah,
You know.
it's probably cheaper that way. I'm sure.
Your
just
taxes
gotta-
and your rental rates are a lot better.
Yeah.
That
gotta
seems like a
get
new
people out
a new project for Pete Doolin.
What's that?
States and their weird liquor laws.
Maybe we have him come on once episode and give us some weird weird thing.
What was it? Georgia with Creature Comforts was the big brewery in Georgia for the longest time that was fighting this law. I think they finally got it changed, but you could not sell a glass of beer to go, or not to go to a glass of beer to consume on site.
Right.
However, you could pour unlimited samples with a tour, and you could sell merchandise. So as part of your tour, they would sell you a glass, and you're just buying the glass, and then you'd buy the ticket for the tour, and they would just fill it with unlimited free samples while you're walking around the brewery. No tour guide needed.
That's pretty awesome.
That's a great move.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the Sandhills name.
Yeah.
And the logo. Tell us about the name and what I'm guessing it's something to do with Kansas.
It is something to do with Kansas. So it actually deals with where my brother and I grew up. So we grew up in the Sandhills of Kansas. It's a small region, central Kansas, right around the Hutchinson area. It's actually, a lot of people are familiar with the Sandhills of Nebraska.
Is there actual sand there?
Yes.
Really?
A lot of it.
Really?
Like ridiculous amounts of it. And it's not like the sand dune, like the Great Sand Dunes in Colorado, but it's in that general direction in that everything is sandy. The water table's at 4 feet. The soil quality is, pretty crap.
Non-existent.
Exactly. But anyway, so that's where we grew up, and it was, Sandhills Brewing. It's a hark back to our homestead.
Gotcha.
We grew up out in the middle of the country with our parents on formerly a commercial apple orchard, and and it was originally called Sandhills Prairie Farm. And so now it's Sandhills Brewing.
A little ode to shout out to them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Did you come to that quickly?
I don't remember when it came about. My brother actually was the one that came up with it. And I mean, we had the Sandhills Brewing name like all the way back in homebrew days, like pretty early on.
Yeah.
That was what we were going with. And it's just stuck.
Do you remember, we're going to kind of go backward a little bit, but the first good beer you did homebrewing, you're like, I'm going to make this one at my brewery?
Kind of. I would say originally we started out with the intent, the very both ignorant and arrogant intent of doing nothing but barrel-aged sour beers. Like that's all we wanted to do, and because that was what we liked to drink at the time. And I think the very first really good beer that we made was a sour Flanders Red. Was kind of the one that we're like, oh, this is it. We've got it. Actually, it's still the recipe today. We've never actually changed it. The first non-sour beer, I have no idea. Honestly, I truly don't feel like our non-sour beers got good until the day we opened the brewery.
Really?
And, yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Pressure? Little deadline pressure made you good?
Yeah, it's in a time of immense pressure, like, okay, it's got to be good.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
How many beers did you open with?
I don't remember. I want to say 4 or 5. We opened originally. We opened the Hutch location first, and we opened with I think 4 or 5 different cans. Everything was sold to go. We didn't have the drinking establishment license at that time, so we could give free samples like an ounce at a time, and we could sell growlers and cans. And so I think we launched with a New England IPA, a dark mild, our Scottish export, and our Berliner Weiss. I think. So I think it was just 4.
How about the names? Obviously, there's a lot of bird names.
There's a lot of bird names.
Is that, I'm guessing that's intentional. Somebody likes birds.
It is intentional, but for 2 very different reasons. One makes for a good story. The other is very convenient. The good story aspect is we used to, we would go. My brother and I would go bird watching with our dad all the time growing up. So it was a way to show respect to him. The convenient aspect is we're really bad with names. And so by naming every beer, for the most part, after Kansas birds, we have this convenient list on Wikipedia of every bird found in Kansas. Like, cool, there's our options. Pick one.
By the way, we've never had that answer before on the how do you come up with your beer names.
There's no trickiness to the name.
No, there's not.
No double entendres.
No, I've never heard we are not creative. We don't want to think about it.
So, look, beer names come from Wikipedia. Check.
Pretty much. And by the way, there's one of our birds is flamingo. It's our tropical IPA, and we get shit all the time. He's like, well, there's not flamingos in Kansas. Turns out, yes, there are, because
Really?
there was a flock of flamingos that escaped from the Wichita Zoo that are now living wild around Wichita, and they are included in the birds of Kansas. And so we picked it.
By the way, that's the best fun fact we've had on this show. Look, somehow, someday,
pretty
even though Nigel says he's never doing trivia again, but someday when we do show trivia, that's going to be on there.
Well, I mean, we can do show trivia. We're not going to.
Nigel claims he's never doing trivia
Just be sure to invite
again.
me that night so that I can get one trivia question.
No, we're going to have like guest readers. You're going to read that one.
Okay, deal.
There we go.
Are there flamingos in Kansas? Yes, there are.
So you opened Hutchinson about a year ahead of
Yep.
here, right? So
Yep.
I'm curious, the difference in the customers. Are they liking the same beers?
Yes and no. I would say that for the most part, everybody likes the same general beers, but in different quantities. In that, like here in Mission, our New England IPA, Junko, is our top seller. Basically has been from day one, always continues to be. You know, I hope at some point that will change. If for no other reason than let us brew something else on a more regular basis.
I need to do something different,
right? In Hutch, that beer is Chickadee, our Berliner Weiss. So the tart wheat beer is number one in Hutch. The New England IPA is number one in Mission. But I don't think we've ever had a beer that went over well in one that didn't go over well in the other. You know, they're all always pretty equal. It's just, you know, what's top.
So what's it been like? I used to live in Mission. Love Mission.
did?
Yeah, years ago. I used to work at Channel 5 years ago.
Come on back.
Yeah. What was it like coming here and getting this? This is a prime location, man. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Well, let me describe it this way. I wish I lived in Mission now.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, obviously with any location there's challenges, but our goal from early on was always that we wanted to be a neighborhood brewery. We didn't want to be the destination tourism brewery. We didn't want to be, you know, the next hype can release brewery. We didn't want to just be a, you know, college frat bar or any of that. We wanted to be a neighborhood brewery. You could come in, have regulars, sit down, and have a conversation.
That was always the patio and play cards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Case in point.
Or you can walk to it.
Right.
I mean,
and
that's
in
the
fact,
thing.
we have a lot of regulars that walk here.
That's awesome.
And the thing that has been most surprising to me with that was I wish I had the luxury of walking here in the same way that our customers do.
Yeah.
Because I don't. I live out in Lenexa, which is not a bad drive. It's 15, 20 minutes depending on traffic. But it's been really great. You know, Mission has definitely become kind of a second home that I never really expected. Like, I have a far better relationship with the city of Mission than I have with the city of Lenexa. In part because as a resident, you know, you don't really have to deal with the city unless there's a problem.
But as
a business, I'm talking to the city all the time.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's for good things or bad things, you're constantly engaged with them. And Mission's been great for that.
Was there an inspiration that maybe you went to another tap room or brewery that you thought, oh, if I get to do it, I'm going to do it like that? Was it you? Because, you know, every brewery has its own little vibe, you know?
Well, I will tell you early on, you know, and this is not a very good comparison for the Mission Brewery, which is where we're sitting right now. You know, my brother and I and Joe's inspiration was always, it was Jester King out of Austin, Texas, you know, with a true farmhouse brewery.
Right.
Out in the middle of the hill country. You know, it's 45 minutes from downtown Austin. That was always what we kind of wanted to create. But the reality is we decided, no, let's do something in town. Let's do something that's more neighborhood focused. But we can still make those kind of esoteric beers and have a little bit more creativity there. Or at least, you know, so we thought. We do a little bit of it. You know, we make some fun, weird stuff. But some of the best breweries that we've been to, that we've enjoyed, I honestly don't remember their names.
Right.
Because it was more about the experience than it was the brewery. You know, it was, you know, you're visiting a city with friends or for a work trip or something, and you pop into a little neighborhood brewery, and you just kind of feel at home.
That might have happened to us a couple weeks ago in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
We might have made some friends.
We might have made some random
made some friends who drove us around.
Do you remember the brewery?
412.
4 points.
4 points, and what was the other one? Allagash City?
Allegheny.
Allegheny City Brewing, yeah.
Nice.
All tucked in the neighborhood, tucked away.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All of them were unique. different beers.
There was a micro distillery at some point.
Yeah,
in
it
the-
was.
How do you make a micro distillery work, like financially? Because
All I know is it was good drinking.
And
Nice.
it was
It was right in the middle of this little
Yeah.
old industrial area.
So just imagine if some breweries you can see all the shit in the background.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they were doing at this distillery.
Old-
You could-
old
the
copper
tables,
stills.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it
That's
was
awesome.
It was pretty dope.
Nice.
Pretty sweet.
What were you
So,
doing in Pennsylvania?
We went to Barrel and Flow, which is a beer festival,
And you were
music
in-
festival, art festival type situation that highlights black brewers,
Nice.
black breweries.
Artists, musicians.
We actually have, so they did 30 different collabs where small breweries and big breweries and people who don't brew collabed with, we got 15 collabs. I've got one of the collabs in my bag, by the way. I don't know which one.
Very nice.
Thanks to those guys over there, because Tavor does not
Oh,
deliver
this
to
is-
Missouri.
You were the one.
It's them. No, thank you for the Tavor getting the Barrel and Flow beers.
Tavor is awesome.
Yeah.
If only it would come to Missouri.
It's not in Missouri anymore?
No, you can't get it. That's.
Wait. Since when does Kansas get something alcohol related that Missouri does not?
You'd be surprised.
Really?
I'm gonna say
You'd
this.
be surprised the amount of Oklahoma beers that come to Kansas and not Missouri. In fact, all
Honestly,
of them.
color me shocked.
There are
Does
many.
this mean that we get to get Stone Cloud before you do if they
Yes.
end up coming this way?
Yeah,
Yes.
Absolutely.
I will drink.
And the reason that is because I know those guys down there, and talking to them, they're like, it's easier for us to get into Kansas than Missouri.
Huh.
That's why you can go to Lawrence, and they have Rough Tail,
Yep.
and
Yep.
and all these other things. I'm like, how the hell? Not so much in this county, but when
No,
you
you
go
can
out
get
to-
lots of rough tail here.
Can you? But
yeah.
I'm talking about all the.
Maybe not all the variants. But
Yeah.
you
Well, I'm
get most
talking about all
of
the Oklahoma breweries, but
Yeah.
Rough Tail. No, you can't get that in Missouri. No,
Really?
No, sir. Thank God we're close to the state line, and thank God to friends who live close to the state line.
it. There you go.
State line importers.
That could be your business right there, a little side hustle. We'll meet you at Ugly Joe's. We'll make that exchange.
I wonder what the friend tax is for Tavor deliveries.
That's a good question. So I got a question for you. There's a 6 degrees of separation question.
Okay.
John Bedoin
Yes.
and the Pawpaws.
Yes.
So
He's one of my favorite people. I had no idea.
You know what? Yeah, not very many people say that.
Oh, poor John.
Sorry, John.
So how do you know John? So for those who don't know, Sandhills does the Pawpaw beer.
Which, by the way, we have it cold.
Really?
Have you guys tried it?
I don't
I
think
had the original batch.
Yeah, I think
Well,
I had the
I have
original.
the second batch. Whenever we're ready for a break, I'll go grab a bottle.
Okay,
and
so
crack it.
who
John
knew-
was
who
a
knew there were
guest
Pawpaws?
early on.
Huh?
John was a guest early on.
Yeah. He shouted you out.
Did he?
Yeah, he shouted you
That's
out.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Yeah. But who knew there were pawpaw trees in the Lee Summit? Much less downtown
Who
Lee
knew
Summit.
there were pawpaw trees not on a farm in the middle of I don't want to call downtown Lee Summit urban, but
Yeah.
So-
So how did you meet John?
It was at the 2018 Blarney Festival.
Yeah.
There in downtown Lee Summit.
Yeah.
I was still homebrewing at the time, and I had just made, or like just being like 8 months ago, I had made a barrel-aged mixed culture sour at home in a little 8-gallon whiskey barrel with pawpaws. I had, at some point in 2016 or 17, I had discovered pawpaws, became completely obsessed, went down the rabbit hole. I'm still buried way down in that rabbit
you
hole.
really?
I'm completely obsessed with them. And so I made a pawpaw beer, and I loved it. I called it Indigenous Gold. I still have some of those original bottles, actually, which they're probably terrible now. But
Or maybe not.
maybe not. We'll find out. I actually stuck one in my fridge just like 3 days ago with the intent of finding out, are they still good? And I was
you
serving.
need to live stream that test, by the way.
That would be fun. So I was serving a keg of that beer at Blarney, and this guy comes up and just said, "What the fuck, man? You've got pawpaw beer." I'm like, "Yes. What do you know about pawpaws?"
By the way,
Like,
when he said that, it was not that quiet.
oh, I'm sure it was
was not that
quiet. No. And he basically then went on to say, like, well, I have a pawpaw tree in my front yard, and at this point in time, I had never managed to find any. I didn't hardly
And he's
know
like,
anything
it's
about
a
it.
block over there.
Yep. And it's like, well, if you ever need pawpaws, and I don't remember when Barney happens. I think it's
March.
Yeah, March.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right, because it's St. Patty's. And so that's not prime fruit picking season by any means. And so I was like, well, next time they're ripe, just hit me up and we'll get some. And so I did. And I have then proceeded to work with John every single year since then to pick some pawpaws off of his single tree in his front yard, which to this date, I've probably picked fruit from 2,000 plus pawpaw trees, both farm grown and wild. And John has the single most incredible tree I have ever seen.
Really?
Like, a typical pawpaw tree has, half a dozen pieces of fruit if it's a good tree. Wild trees, you'll find like one piece of fruit for every 20 trees, give or take. Like they're
weird.
really
They're weird trees.
They're very weird.
And some years they don't fruit.
No, right. They're pollinated by flies as opposed to honeybees.
Really?
So they're piss poor pollinators, and they just you don't get a lot of fruit out of them. And then here, John has a single tree, and by the way, most of them are not self-pollinating, so you have to have two genetically different ones. And John has this single tree in his front yard that produces like 600 pieces of fruit in 1 year. I'm just like,
So what we're saying is John probably has some kind of weird fly infestation at his house.
let's go with that. Okay. Yeah. We'll call it the John fly.
We just named it after the John fly.
So that's how I know John. Like, John he's been a good friend, and he's gives me pawpaws every single year.
Well, he says you can climb a tree pretty well.
I do climb up trees pretty well.
Yeah, I think the first time he's like, this guy came out, and he just like went up the tree.
So I hear there was another tree that was growing that you were able to. Wasn't there one like on the side of his house? Some
He
weird.
did. He had a whole bunch of little sprouts growing. Unfortunately, it did not survive the transplant process.
Oh, it didn't.
But since then, I have proceeded to plant 3 mature trees in my backyard that are now producing fruit a little bit, and I have about 5,000 sprouts growing just because I spread the seeds every single year. And at first, I was like, oh, maybe I'll get 1 or 2 to germinate. Turns out they have a really high germination rate, and now I'm just mowing them down.
Oops.
Sorry, honey.
Yep.
It's time for another mystery beer, Nick.
All right.
Let's have it.
I'll pull this one.
I really need to get some new bags. So it's getting ridiculous. I mean, the third beer is wrapped in an Amazon package thing.
Uh-oh. All right. This is gonna make Nigel happy.
What we got here?
I recognize the logo on
It's
there.
Past and Present, Other Half Brewing, which you love.
I haven't had this beer either.
It's the American barley wine.
Oh.
Are we gonna guess the ABV?
Let's gonna play our game. Do you want to have a sip first, or do you want to guess it before we drink?
I kind of want to have a sip and then guess.
Yeah, let's
All
do
right.
that.
I'm gonna pour.
As you switch your glass. I don't think so. I'm fine with the same glass. We're not that fancy.
A barley wine's going to overpower the
Oh, it's
pre-prohibition
going to
lager.
clean that glass fine.
Go the other way around, and that'd be one potent lager.
This is one of the case of beer. One of the beers out of the case when I was in. Apparently, there's the Other Half Brewing in D.C. And I did
They
not
won
know
in
that.
D.C. now?
Yes. And so I got a hard on and bought a case of beer and sent them back to myself. I was like, I've got to have.
I think that's the first time we've had that phrase on this show.
No, don't. Well, should I have said Woody?
How many breweries does Other Half have now?
3.
Okay.
There's Brooklyn, there's D.C., and there's another place. Oh, that's delicious in New York.
Well done.
I'm
By
gonna,
the way,
I'm
that
gonna,
was
I'm gonna
perfect
guess the ABV.
5-glass pouring.
That was perfect.
Hercules. I'm gonna guess the ABV. I'm gonna say it's probably 11.5 because it doesn't taste like that. That is dangerous.
Holy moly,
That is smooth.
good.
I'm
That
going to
is-
say that is a, unfortunately, probably way higher than I think it is based on its taste because that's really smooth.
Yeah. You think 14?
Okay, so Nigel has an 11,
11 and a half.
11 and a half,
This is
What-
just a
what do
straight
you
bar,
guys
the
say?
one. It's
What do
not
you guys
barrel
say?
aged or anything
They're
like that.
saying 14 over there.
14 from our guests.
I'm going to guess 9.4.
The actual retail ABV 10%.
10%.
All right.
Do I win something?
Well, you went over. He's
Oh, I guess so.
Is it 9-4?
Jonathan's the closest without
Damn
going
it.
over.
All right.
Look, if I'm going to play the game, I'm doing Bob Barker
You're doing
rules.
Barker rules? Well, you need a spay and neuter then while you're at it.
That
This
is
is delightful.
Yeah, it's a good beer.
Barley wine.
That's one of my favorite breweries, man.
Yeah, their beer is so ridiculously good.
And if the interesting thing, they didn't do it on this one. So depending on where it was brewed, the different breweries have different color pull tabs.
Really?
Yeah. So the ones out of DC are green. The ones in Brooklyn, I think they were red. I think the other brewery has blue.
I wonder what they have to pay their can manufacturer for that.
Probably. I mean, as big as they are, they don't really care at this point. But no,
I
that's
can't
it.
afford that.
Well, when Hutchinson grows a little bit bigger.
There you go. There you go.
So do you have a preference of, like, when you're brewing, what you like to brew? I know you talked about you guys really wanted to almost be like a sour, house.
Did.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do that anymore.
Yes and no. I mean, we still love making barrel-aged sours. Like, just for, obviously, this is a radio show. Nobody can see this. Over to my right, I'm pointing to two brand new Cooter Crafter puncheons. We've got a few oak barrels, not a lot, but for the small brew, like we're starting to build up our oak supply. To me, that's still the fun side. It's the art, it's the slow and steady aspect that I really, really enjoy. That is not, however, what I want to drink every single day. What I want to drink every single day is mostly pale ales and lagers. Particularly like a Czech Pils, German Pils, something like that. I'm really enjoying hoppy lagers right now.
Yeah.
Something that gives me a little more interest, kind of like an IPA, but is still just crushable, like a German Pils. But the barrel-aged stuff is still the stuff that I really like to make. However, I don't make a lot of big barrel-aged beers. My sweet spot is like 4.5-5%. Like I like making table beers, table saisons. Lightly tart, lightly oak-aged, more like I still want it to be crushable, but complex. And we don't make a lot of that, but if I'm going to do brewing, that's what I want to do.
So when you go to another brewery, are you seeking out lagers? Are you seeking out the styles you do? What do you normally go? Because I know when I walk into a brewery, the first thing I'm looking at, I'm like, I want the lager because I want to see if they can actually do it.
Yep.
And if there's something barrel-aged or a stout, that's kind of the other way I'm going to go.
Yeah, I would say I seek out, first and foremost, their lagers and IPAs. Lagers, for exactly the same reason you said, is you can't, with a really crisp, clean lager like a German Pils or Czech Pils or anything like that, you can't hide behind anything.
Right.
So I want to see your technical prowess. Two, that's also just what I want to just crush all day long. But also then on the IPA side, I want to, like, half of this kind of depends on, am I there to drink or am I there for,
R&D,
research?
R&D.
If I'm there for research,
and duplicate.
I want to try their IPAs. I want to see, how their IPAs are coming out, both from a process standpoint, but also just, design-wise, whether, and that is regardless of the style of IPA, whether it's American IPA, New England IPA, you name it. If their New England IPA comes out tasting like cardboard, they've got some process issues.
That would be unfortunate.
Yeah.
When your IPAs taste like cardboard.
They're not supposed to taste like
I've
cardboard.
never gotten that one before.
That's the Pizza Inn of beers.
You said Pizza Inn.
Sorry, that joke is for listeners of a certain age.
Yeah, it's like Pizza Inn. What's that?
So those are the two styles that I really kind of seek out because, one, it's what I like to drink, but it's also, you can't hide anything on a crisp lager side, but also hops are so delicate that they're going to show how well you're paying attention to everything in between the hot side and the draft side.
Yeah.
I'm totally different. I'm looking for a stout or something weird.
Was something weird?
Yeah. I want new. Like, what's the weirdest thing you guys are putting? I like
that
crazy
was me
brewers.
for like 7 years.
Like, what's the Nutty Mad Professor brewer doing? That's or just a stout because it's always stout season, right?
You want my Nutty Mad Professor? I make beer with mushrooms.
Oh.
I mean,
I do.
are they special mushrooms?
They are, well, depends on how you define special. In this case, no. No, we make golden chanterelles are a wild foraged mushroom that I pick. It's a chef delicacy that I really like working with. You can't grow them commercially. They have to be foraged.
I bet that's a real earthy.
They're real like fruity and earthy. And I really like them in beer. And so like I that's one of my, since I no longer do most of the brewing, the way that I get to contribute is I go find random cool, weird ingredients and I'll be like, hey, Rob,
mushrooms.
I need you to brew this.
So I guess it begs the question, the brewer, he's like, no, wait, what? You want me to do what?
Yeah, how often has he looked at you and gone, nah?
Rob's a very patient man. And I think he's still here. He can probably overhear this. He's probably chuckling in the background.
That jerk.
But no, I for the most part, he entertains my eccentricities. So it works out.
So what's it been like? We talked about you guys being in Mission. What's it been like, the response been like from the neighborhood and that sort of thing?
It's been fantastic. It's a little weird because we're always torn as on the business side. Obviously we are incentivized to build as much hype as we can around our beers, sell more beer faster, generate more revenue, run out of beer faster.
It's still a business, right?
Right, it's still a business. On the face-to-face side, we actually sometimes love the slower days because we have that opportunity to sit down and actually talk across the bar with our regulars, with people that are walking in, or even with people that are coming in from across the country. And so on the neighborhood side, it's been fantastic. We have a large base of regulars that walk here because, for anybody that is not aware of how Mission is situated and where we are in Mission, we are on basically the downtown main drag, but on every side of us, other than the main drag, it's neighborhoods.
Right.
There's, I don't even know how many people are within walking distance, but it's a significant number relative to a lot of breweries. So we have that aspect of, not only did we intend to be a neighborhood brewery in the sense of we want to have regulars, we want to have people that come in, have a couple beers during the day and then go home. We're never intended to be a party bar. But in this case, we quite literally are a neighborhood brewery in that there's a lot of people that live in the neighborhood and walk down, have a couple beers and go home.
Yeah.
And that part of it has been fantastic. On the flip side, Mission is relatively small. We are, even though we're on the main drag, relative to, say, some breweries in the Kansas City, Missouri side, we're more off the beaten path. Part of that is we're on the Kansas side.
Right.
And there's a lot of people in the overall Kansas City area that, it's Kansas for the longest time has been an afterthought. I don't mean this in a derogatory sense or in a begrudging sense at all, but the brewery side of the Kansas side of the state line has been, 5 to 10 years behind the Missouri side.
Right.
Always has been.
Right.
We're only just now catching up, and half of that deals with Kansas laws. The Kansas laws, as it pertains to starting a brewery, are more difficult and always have been. And some of those are finally lightening up. One of the most significant ones was we have what's called the 30% food rule,
right,
which requires that we sell 30% of our gross receipts in food. Luckily, in Johnson County, thanks to basically the collective effort of all the Johnson County breweries, we got that revoked because it's a statewide law that is decided by the county. The state says you can choose one of three ways. You can either have no liquor by the drink, liquor by the drink uninhibited, or liquor by the drink with 30% food. We were formerly a 30% food, so we had to serve food. By all means, look around where's the kitchen?
Right.
There's no kitchen.
So how are you guys dealing with that when that was going, because you guys obviously opened before they changed the rule.
We did. So the way that it's reported is basically you have to report it every 2 years. You have to report it, technically you're supposed to be in compliance at all times, but you report it at the time that you renew your liquor license, which is every 2 years. So our first 2 years, we had partnered with the local coffee shop, which is right over here, and they were providing food for us, so you could order at the bar. They would run a sandwich over, et cetera, et cetera. We'd bring in food trucks. We would sell bar snacks. We did everything that we could within reason to try and sell more food relative to alcohol. And we never made a dime on any of that food. If we spent, a gazillion hours coordinating food with anybody, we literally never made a single markup because we just,
You were just trying to fulfill the requirement.
Just to fulfill the requirement. Also because our food inspector was like, well, as long as you don't make money on it, I don't care if you run it down the street. But if you make money on it, you can't run it down the street. I'm like,
Good Lord.
okay, whatever.
Really?
It's all a high wire act.
Right.
Around different pools. Right. Yeah.
And quite frankly, we didn't make it. We didn't even get close. I think we hit like 17%. But we, thankfully, in most part due to Limitless Brewing in Lenexa, Kansas, they were the ones that spearheaded this initiative to change the law. They got it on the ballot. Everybody chipped it. Like every single person that I'm aware of in the beer and alcohol industry was like, no, let's get this removed.
Yeah.
Everybody was fighting it. And we got it removed. So we got it on the ballot. Everybody voted within the county, and we succeeded. So thankfully, it's no longer an issue. But that was a big prohibiting aspect. And actually, whenever we were looking at starting, we seriously considered going into Wyandotte County instead of Johnson County, specifically because Wyandotte County didn't have the 30%.
They don't?
Right. You can just have liquor by the drink.
And yet there's no brewery over there.
Right.
Which is...
Well, but I mean,
and some
reality,
of that are municipality laws
Well,
too.
sure.
Like
Yes.
KCK is kind of
well, right. I mean, every municipality has their own rules as far as can you bring a brewery in or not.
Right.
And some of them are less friendly to brewers. And I actually have we never got to the municipality level on the Wyandotte side as to whether or not that would even be viable. We were just looking at if we have to comply with 30%, how do we do it? And we ended up just deciding to honestly just take a gamble, and we just said, all right, we're going to do it, and we really hope we can get this law revoked.
Kind of like when you decided to open a brewery.
Yeah.
You're like,
hey, you only need $15,000. It ain't a big deal. You can raise that money.
That's good if we have a late night
You only need
infomercial.
$15,000.
You want to own a brewery? Only $15,000. Call now.
That's awesome.
But wait, there's
But
more.
there's more. Free bag of hops.
That's
With
great.
your $15,000 investment.
Small bag. Small
It's
bag.
small. It's a tiny bag.
Well,
Pellets.
It's still a bag.
It's a coin purse. So when you look to let's just talk about the mission location where we're at here. What are you thinking next? What are you looking to as you grow this and keep pushing it?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things. The first one is, we are very tight here. We're operating the brewery and the tap room in basically 2,800 square feet, and only about 500 of that is production space, which is very, very small. We operate on a 3-barrel system. We've got roughly 12 barrels of stainless fermentation, 3 barrels of cold prior to the cold room, another 12 to 15 barrels of oak capacity, and we're pretty tight. But also, because of where we're situated within downtown Mission, all of our outdoor space is public. And so, there's only so much we can do with the outdoor space because every single thing requires city approval. Every single thing, we can only encroach so far before the city's like, well, no, you have to leave this much for the public sidewalk, et cetera, et cetera. So we do hope to expand. We hope to add a little bit more square footage on one side or the other, and neither of those things are in our control.
Right.
It just depends on, if one of the neighboring tenants decides to leave, if we take that space or whatever we do, we don't really know. But that is definitely something we would like to do. We'd like to add a little bit more space so we can increase the taproom space. We can increase the production side. Excuse me.
You were supposed to burp.
Yes. I was supposed to burp.
You tried to hide it.
I was trying to be
tried to-
polite.
He tried to swallow the burp. I mean, look,
You just swallowed the
I
burp.
just need to let it go.
Yeah, you got to let it go.
we ain't fancy on this show. There's no pinkies pointing out.
Beyond that, we honestly, and this may sound a little not defeatism, but not particularly ambitious. We don't want to grow that much. Our intent has always been to be a small neighborhood brewery brewing the best beer we can.
Right.
We would rather be known for producing a very small amount of really good beer than producing a lot of okay beer. And so we don't intend to grow substantially. We would like to grow in a way that we can accommodate our local audience, that we can make it more accessible, that we can, make it more, more friendly for different types of events. We'd love to be able to host, whether it's music or individual events, like have a little bit more flexibility within our space to do that.
A couple of dumb podcast hosts.
Yeah, no, they're the worst. Like, they just get really loud. They talk all the time, and
you don't want those guys.
No, definitely.
What size is y'all's system that you're brewing?
We're on a 3-barrel system.
Okay, so you are small.
We are quite small.
So do you want to expand that though, or do you think maybe that's the space for you? That's your happy
honestly,
place.
I love 3 barrels. I think 3 barrels is a great size for, let's be honest, we're a brew pub, with the exception that we don't do food. But in the brew pub sense, we brew a small amount of beer on site. The vast majority is consumed on site. That's what we want to do. 3 barrels is perfect for that. I do want to change our system. I'd like to swap it out for a system that we can be more efficient with, that we can be more flexible with. But the downside is the majority of those systems do not fit through our front door. Yeah.
Well, that's when you have to take off the door.
Working on that.
So that's why they get those garage doors in there.
Yes.
I've been on many delivery day of brew systems, and doors.
They're a problem.
Well, I can kind of understand the dilemma there, though. Is like, you want to grow and have more room because you love having it in, but you're also in a perfect spot to be a neighborhood brewery. I mean,
we are.
If people haven't been to Mission in a while, or if they're like me, who don't, I don't leave my hometown area very often, but I mean, it's just, this is a perfect neighborhood spot.
Yeah, it is. And I'll say one thing, like, even though it is frustrating to have nothing but public space outside of our building, in the sense, like, regardless of whether we own the building or not, which we don't, we lease it right now. We hope to buy it at some point. But even if we did own the building, we still wouldn't have any area around the building which we could use for public space.
Yeah, you've got what, about 4 feet, 5 feet?
Well, yeah, and it's all public.
Right.
So we use it with permission via ordinance with the city.
Right.
Like, we had to go behind, like, it took 6 months to get our patio up and going because we had to get all the city permission to do it. But one of the perks of that a lot of breweries struggle with is we don't have to have parking. We have all street parking.
Yeah.
And that was never something that I anticipated thinking of as an advantage, but we have some good friends and neighbors, Rock Creek Brewing, just literally down the street.
Right.
And they are half a block off of Johnson Drive, where they have a private lot that they've converted into a patio, and parking is a constant challenge for them.
Yeah.
Both in maintaining neighborly relations with, people understanding where to park, forming relationships with neighboring businesses that will allow them to park. Like, we don't have that problem. And I'm very thankful for that, because I'm sorry, like, literally the only option, you park on the street.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's all public on both sides. And, I'm not saying that's best for the customer, but it's great for us.
Right. Well, I can remember there was no parking on that side.
Oh, really?
I mean, the parking spots were all on this side.
I don't remember that at all.
Oh, I do. When I lived here, that was, I don't think there was even a sidewalk on this side of the street, to be honest with you.
And that would make it even more challenging.
Yeah.
Nigel's old.
What's that?
I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything.
Rude. You know what? Mystery beer time for you. That's your punishment.
Oh, well, in that case, I'll say it again. Nigel's old.
I lived in Mission in the 90s, from 92 to about 98, maybe.
Boy,
Thank
you know
you,
what?
sir.
That's when I was visiting Hutchinson.
Was it really? What were you doing in Hutchinson at the time?
I worked for some newspapers in southeast Kansas.
We'll let Jonathan get this one.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
I
That's a collab.
don't know what this is.
I don't. That's the one with.
All right. I think I'm going to like what this is, though. By the way, also,
it's a collab.
this might be one
They're
of
the two breweries right there.
prettier labels that I have seen
See
in a very long time.
The two labels.
So this is a Barrel and Flow collaboration between Trace Brewing and Two Locals Brewing.
Apparently, the audience says this one's really good.
Is that one that didn't make it
Tavor
home?
friends.
Was that the friend
It's
tax?
hard to open things with a microphone with one hand.
It is. I have ripped back a fingernail doing that before and prefer not to do it again.
Let's see if you can, judge your pouring as well.
I don't know. You set a pretty high bar.
Did he?
That was a pretty even five glass pour.
Okay. I was thinking about maybe the foam, the head, maybe. What kind of skills do you have?
Oh no,
Nope,
those skills are bad. I'm just going to put that out there.
It looks pretty.
You're going to win this one, Nick.
I don't know. That's pretty good.
Not too bad.
There you go.
All right.
Do we know what style it is?
What do we got here?
Double New England IPA, I think.
Okay.
Or double hazy IPA.
Let's see what's going on with that. Nose is nice.
Look, Junior's going to get mad. Let's say it again. Who are they again?
Oh.
It's Trace Brewing and
two locals.
two locals brewing.
And it has one of the hops that I've been wanting to play with for years now called Grunheist.
Oh, that's
Junior,
tasty.
that was for you.
Yeah, that's tasty. What's the ABV about? I don't know, 5.6? 5.6? What do you got? ABV? 7?
I'm gonna
you
go
know that
I'm
for
gonna-
a fact.
I'm gonna go 6. I'm going to go 6.
What'd you guess, Nigel?
I said 5.6.
6.5. Nigel wins 5.2.
Hey, winner,
So
chicken
it is
dinner.
also not a double dry hop New England IPA.
Well,
which is
that's
what I
probably,
thought it was.
no. That's probably
It's a double dry hopped pale lager.
Okay. Is that what it is?
Dry hopped with Hallertau, Mittelfrüh, Grunheist, Citra, and Azaka.
That's good.
Grunheist is a cool hop.
Because I can, I'm going to blame my wrong guess on his. He gave me the wrong description.
He gave it wrong.
You're welcome.
He said it was a double. I threw you off.
I was throwing you off.
You know, a
intentionally.
good friend of mine earlier today said, remember, it's always somebody else's fault.
That's right. That's right.
So what's happening in what's going to happen? We talked about growth here. What about Hutch? Is that going to change?
It is. So in Hutch, we're doing a couple of things. One, because of the luxury of space that we have, we are doing a lot more distribution work in Hutch. Unlike here where we have 28,000, that would sure be nice. 2,800 square feet. We've got about 6,000 square feet in Hutch, and it's a lot more flexible. It's basically a back alley warehouse, effectively, and it gives us a lot of flexibility to use it for whatever we want. If we want to install a floor drain, if we want to, do a barrel room, if we want to, put an outdoor cooler in, we can kind of, as long as we can pay for it, we can do it. It also helps.
There's that.
There is that. It's just a small detail.
Only $15,000.
Only 15.
and you get a free bag of hops.
That needs to be a beer name somewhere.
Only $15,000.
What kind of brewery do you get for $15,000?
a very tiny brewery.
Very
A
tiny.
quarter barrel system.
Ooh, you can be very efficient though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Think how many batches you could do in a day. Just line up
My-
6
my-
of them.
My tap room has 2 seats.
Oh,
And it's a go window.
this beer is allocated for one person.
Me.
So we're doing a lot more distribution work. We're Hutch, so my brother actually owns the building there, separate from the brewery, and so one of the things that we're trying to do is actually basically rip out the entire alleyway and turn it into literally a green beer garden.
Oh,
in the
wow.
sense, like right now, have either of you been to the Hutch Brewery?
I have not.
Okay. Literally, the building it's a long, skinny building within garage doors all along the side. There's 5 units. We've basically slowly combined all the units by cutting doors inside. And then it's just an asphalt parkway or driveway between them. And what we are slowly working on is tearing out all of that asphalt and turning it into a literal beer garden, replacing it with grass, trees, you name it. And just saying, street parking is sufficient. We'll tear out all of our actual parking and, try and, make a green impression on the city of Hutchinson. Hutchinson, it has plenty of good things going for it, but one thing that it has not done particularly well, in our opinion, is drive the, just literally the number of trees in Hutch is pretty sparse. At the end of the day, it is central Kansas. It's very, very flat. It's very windy, but we want to try and make a dent there. And so we are quite literally putting in a beer garden.
Nice.
So
That actually just
mostly
sounds,
native.
I mean, even just, that just
should be
sounds
very
like a
peaceful.
great place to go just take your friends and drink some beer.
A little oasis. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the
beer
goal.
oasis.
A beer oasis.
And to be sure, it has
Another name.
Is that a T-shirt?
You know what? That might be a T-shirt coming
it,
soon
do it.
to a store
Dibs.
near you.
I call dibs.
You call him dibs?
Dang it! Dang it! Nigel, you got to be faster with the dibs.
My lawyer's not here, so there's that.
It has a long ways to go, but that is the goal. And at the end of the day, Sandhills Brewing, while it also refers to a family location, more importantly, it refers to the natural space where we grew up, and we want to, try and bring back as much of the natural space as we can.
Will you put apple trees in as a
Do what?
little? Will you put apple trees in as a little shout out to the family?
Pawpaws.
Already working on it. So, I mean, we are actually working on that. Actually, so as a part of the brewery, even though the brewery does not exist on the family homestead, which, we grew up on 100 acres in the middle of nowhere in the Sandhills. It was originally a commercial apple orchard. Our parents basically retired the apple orchard when my brother and I were 3 or 4. We have some very, very vague memories of running the orchard commercially, but we are working on revitalizing that. So in the last year, we just planted 100 new cider apple trees specifically for doing hard cider, things like Wine Sap, Arkansas Black, Kingston Black, etc. Cider apple varieties specifically. We started this project about 4 years ago, had to reset after an unfortunate prairie fire, and we're slowly working at it. Even though they are not on the brewery property, they're still associated with the property. They're on the original Sandhills Prairie Farm, and all of that, ties together. And so that's the goal. Is ultimately we are a nature-focused brewery, and in every way.
Oh, it sounds like you should be growing your own hops.
We have some hops growing. We have brewed with them.
Have you?
Yeah. They're okay.
So does your brother make the pawpaw beer too at his brewery?
No. He's working on it. He's actually he's where he's at in Hutchinson. He lives just outside of Hutchinson. That's right on the far, far western edge of the pawpaw territory. It's a little too dry. It's a little too sandy. It's a little too hot. But they will grow there. So I gave him 2 trees a few years ago that they're coming along. One of them is better than other. It's struggling. But the intent is to grow a bunch of them there. And yeah.
I mean, I figure if you can grow pawpaws in downtown Lee Summit,
You can grow them anywhere.
you can grow them anywhere.
You'd think.
One would think, right?
So
Yep.
I want to dig into the real stuff now, right?
Yes.
We've
The
had
real stuff.
lots of good talk about your family and your brothers and how connected you are to the family history and everything. Let's get to the sibling rivalry.
The sibling rivalry.
Let's get
That's
to
what you
this.
wanna hear
Come
about.
on. You
Let's do
got
it.
one brother in Hutchinson,
Yep.
one brother here in Mission. Come on. Where's the competition? Is there a beer you're competing against each other with? Where's the competition? That's what I wanted. Let's get the good stuff.
I mean, I have no
Let's
doubt.
Jared
I have
Springer
no
this
doubt
show.
that there is. What's funny is we brew different beers, and I don't know how much of that is intentional, how much of it just came about. But if Pippin, my brother, is going to brew a beer and I'm going to brew a beer, invariably they're different.
Yeah.
Well, on the line right now, we've got.
Here's
Calling in from us.
Here's the thing. I make better beer. I'm just going to call it. That's it. I win.
By the way,
I think we found the title for this episode.
I mean,
I make
to be
better
sure,
beer.
I did start saying I don't brew anymore. But
you did say that.
I did.
Look,
But
But nobody needs to remember that.
Never let the facts get in the way of your story.
Exactly.
Yes.
No, story matters more.
I went to J school, and this is what I know.
Bloody hell. Well, hell, dude, it's been awesome having you on, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
I've been a fan of this brewery since you guys opened.
Thank you.
You guys
Thank
do
you.
great beer. It was great when we did Together We Can.
Yes,
That
was.
we got to share some of what you guys do on the Missouri side.
That was
Because
fun.
a lot of people on the Missouri side don't ever come to Kansas, and vice versa.
It's true. It is actually in quite serious question. You're on the Missouri side more, Nick. I don't know where you're at.
I'm
he's-
like.
he's
that's right. Oh, that's right. You're in Lee
He's
Summit.
down the street from
okay,
the pawpaw
so I'll
tree.
direct this to both of you. Does the Kansas side come to the Missouri side more?
I would say so. There's a group that
Yeah.
don't care about the state line and will go wherever.
Yeah.
But there are people who are like,
I'm
where's
gonna-
that? Where's that?
I'm going to say yes, just based on sheer number. There are more breweries on the Missouri side.
But I'm talking about just the
Absolutely
people
true.
in the beer
and
community.
they've been there for longer.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is I just because of numbers, I think more people from Kansas are going to cross over. Because look,
True,
the
true.
beer community.
I mean, I think
We're
the
not.
beer community is
We
a
all
whole.
have our neighborhood place, right?
Right,
But
but
we're
yeah,
drinking.
everybody
We're
has their
drinking
home
at
place.
all
Yeah,
the
and
tap
the
rooms.
reality is no. I mean, I think I can speak for most of the beer community when I say nobody really cares where you are. It's not like there's a Kansas Missouri competition.
No.
That's what I'm saying. Is I think so. The answer to your question is probably just based on sheer numbers.
But I think some people think, oh, it's in Kansas. It's a long way away. I'm like, dude, it's like 25 minutes.
It's actually I guarantee you, if, for example, you're going to BKS, I am the closest Kansas brewery to BKS that I think I am. Like, maybe, 9 minutes.
And I love
maybe.
BKS. I just don't want the hassle.
Yeah,
I'd love to go there, but it's always a shit show.
Yeah.
Now, so they're coming on the podcast next month.
Are we going to play this clip for them?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Please do.
Oh, they know. Well, they just expanded their hours. They're going to start opening on Wednesdays.
Oh, good.
Wednesday through Sunday, which is huge.
Yeah.
Because during the pandemic, no, I'm not going to, as much as I love them and I love their beer.
Yep.
That online ordering system, it was ridiculous.
It was insane how fast their cans disappeared.
Yes.
By the way, major props to Brian and Mary. Whether you intended to do that or not, that's fucking amazing.
Yeah, that's going to be one of my questions. Did you guys plan this? I mean,
what did you do?
Right.
It only cost them
the devil.
It cost them $15,000.
Only. You can start your own brewery for only $15,000. But wait,
I'm gonna run this joke into the ground.
Oh, do it. Please run it into the ground.
Bloody hell. So as we wrap this up, where can people find you and your brother? Like on socials and things like that?
So they can find us on social media at, we have 3 accounts, which in hindsight maybe was a bad idea, but it is. So we have Sandhills Brewing Mission, or Sandhills Brewing _Mission, Sandhills Brewing _Hutch, and Sandhills Brewing. And the intent was, we ran into an issue early on where we always only had one account. It was Sandhills Brewing, and we'd release a beer in Mission. People would walk in the Hutch app and oh, I'll take the new beer. Damn.
Oops.
I'm sorry to disappoint you.
Oops. You got to go to Kansas. You got to go to Mission.
So
Sorry.
That's my brother who has the better beer.
Exactly. So we ended up separating those. So we do have 3 accounts. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if you want to see what Sandhills Brewing is up to, just follow Sandhills Brewing. It's Sandhills Brew on Twitter. Admittedly, we don't post anything on Twitter.
You should. Beer Twitter's amazing.
Yeah, but I
You
come
were
from
like
the
the
tech world. I'm so
ambassador for beer
tired of
Twitter.
Twitter.
No, it's beer Twitter, not regular Twitter.
Yeah, but I can't filter out the two.
Oh, sure you
They're
can.
combined.
You know what you do? Unfollow.
I know.
Oh yeah, just
But
follow
that's
nothing but breweries.
That's
There's
unfortunately
nothing but
easy
love on my
advice,
timeline.
and you're right.
Nothing
Listen,
but beer and
I
love.
try not to let the facts and logic get in the way, but you're right.
You're right. Yes. Yeah.
So you're on Twitter.
Yep.
Instagram. You're on Facebook.
Yep.
MySpace.
Maybe.
You're like, what is that?
No,
By the way,
actually, you know
his
what?
band also has a page
I have
on
no
MySpace.
doubt that my MySpace profile still exists to this day, somehow, somewhere. I don't remember what it was called.
MySpace is still out there.
It's there, right? Justin Timberlake bought it, and I think he's
Did he
not
really?
Yeah, he bought it a long time ago. Wasn't it Justin Timberlake? No, who was it?
Good-
Some
Shout out to JT
large name
for
A
like
good
whatever.
investment there, right?
Yeah. So it's probably still
Look,
there.
I'm pretty sure he bought that just to have blackmail ability on people later, right?
Nick, where can they find us, man?
Well, you know what? We're on Beer Twitter. Beers with Nigel.
We are on
We're
Beer
on
Twitter.
Facebook, Beers with Nigel.
Can we make
and
beer Twitter a thing, like literally separate it from regular Twitter and just have beer Twitter?
Nigel's going to do it. You know how much it's going to cost?
$15,000.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more.
You get a free
Follow
bag
Beers with
of
Nigel on the
hot
Instagrams
pellets.
now, too.
Yeah.
And you can listen to this awesome podcast of Doofuses Talking Beer.
I think we're on Odyssey as well.
Odyssey?
Yeah.
What's Odyssey?
It's just.
You mean Audacity? Wait, no.
No. I think it was radio.com.
Oh.
But I'm pretty sure
I didn't do that, but cool.
No, I think we just ended up on there. You know why?
But you know what's important?
Because I paid $15,000.
Damn it, he stole my joke. You can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or any of your favorite podcast apps. You can even, Nigel, you know what you can say?
Hey, Alexa.
Play the Beers with Nigel podcast.
Yeah.
Should try it sometime. I've never done it because I don't have an Alexa. I have a Google thing that doesn't work.
And now's the time on our podcast where I hit the button and it plays music.
There you go. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Thank you. Really
we're-
appreciate it.
We're gonna get off here and drink some more of your beer.
Sounds
do
good.
it.
I have ample beer.
Ample beer.
Ample
That
beer.
should be a beer name.
Ample beer.
Yes.
Drive safe, kids.
Good night.
Good night.
You've been listening to Beers with Nigel, a show about beer and other stuff, hosted by Nigel Woodbury and that other guy, Nick Parker. Beers with Nigel is poured for you by Dire Oil Graphics, providing bumper-to-bumper graphic design, promo products, and print services. Find them at direoil.com. Beers with Nigel is a proud member of the Fredcast Network and is available on all of your favorite podcast flavors. Find Beers with Nigel on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and ask Alexa to play the Beers with Nigel podcast.